Hi, and welcome back to Clean Code and Programming Principles, the Ultimate Beginner's Guide. I'm Spiros, this is the Programming Dark channel, and in this video, we're not going to cover another principle, because we already covered those. Instead, we're going to discuss what can you do next to continue learning and improving on writing clean code and applying programming principles in your own work. Firstly, congratulations for making it through this series. I hope that the concepts and the principles you learned made sense and that they help you with writing better code throughout your career. Over these videos, we covered a lot of the basic principles, and more importantly, we covered a lot of the why. A lot of why are these principles important, what's the motivation behind them, what do they do, and how do they help your code. But unfortunately, that's just the beginning. There is still a lot more for you to learn about programming principles and about writing clean code. In particular, we didn't cover a lot of practical examples, a lot of code examples, showing what the code looks like before the principle and with it, and just different scenarios about code and how to write it clean. So I think that's what will benefit you to learn the most, just to get a lot more practical examples of clean code. But that's not all. Anything else you keep learning about programming principles will still help. So what should you look into next? So this is the Programming Dark channel, and I am just a little bit biased, so I have to recommend any more videos on programming principles that we create in this channel in the future, because it is in the plans for us to create a lot more, especially practical examples of how to apply these principles. Things that show the code, different situations, and where you may want to apply these principles, where you may not want to, what the code looks before and after, and all those things. So I think that will hopefully be really helpful for you. However, unfortunately, at the time of recording this video, we don't have those yet, but please do check back often because they are in the plans. But in the meantime, where can you go to improve your knowledge of this topic today? And there are a few resources that you can look into. So one of my favorite resources is all content created by Robert Martin, also known as Uncle Bob. In fact, his resources are one of the major things that got me to where I am today with my knowledge and experience in programming principles. So I highly recommend that. Now, he's got a lot of content out there, so which content is right for you? So I would say if you want a quick free version of his content, check out his YouTube lectures, Coding a Better World Together Part 1 and Coding a Better World Together Part 2. They're great introductions to clean code, and they cover different angles and more practical experiences for the principles that Uncle Bob talks about. So you'll probably find them useful. If you want something more thorough, then Uncle Bob has his book Clean Code, which is one of the most recommended books in programming of all time. So you should check that out. He's got his videos Clean Coders, and he's got probably 100 of those or something. So just as a disclaimer, I've watched a lot of his videos and I love them. And if you are going to watch his videos, I recommend starting with his videos on clean code. Start from number 1 and work your way up. Watch as many as you want. I find them all really useful. As for his book, I haven't actually personally read it, but if it's anywhere near as good as his other content, then I'm sure the book is amazing as well. Another recommendation that I can make to you is the book The Pragmatic Programmer. Now, I've read the old version, and a lot of the things in there are probably outdated today, but it's also got universal concepts that are probably going to be relevant in programming pretty much forever. So even though it's quite old, I still highly recommend it. But of course, recently, the new edition of the book came out, the 20th anniversary edition, which probably tackles all the problems with the outdated content that the old one had. So I haven't actually read it, but it is on my list. In the meantime, if you do read it, then please let me know in the comments how you found it. And of course, it goes without saying that if it's as good as the old book, which I've actually got back there, with updated content, then I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it. I found the old book amazing and very relevant. And the final thing I would recommend is to actually think about the principles and challenge them yourself. So for every principle, think, does this make sense? Do I think this principle is good, or might it not be good? And under what scenarios might it be good? What scenarios might it not be good? And even try to disprove them. Try to come up with reasons why these principles aren't good, and maybe what we should do instead. And the basic point about this is to get you thinking about these things. Because, at least in my experience, the more you actually think of things and you challenge them in your head, and you come up with scenarios and things like that, well, it's basically like practice, and it's like critical thinking in your own work. So that's what I would summarize it as. It's just very good practice and very good for your own personal understanding. So that's it for this video, and that's also the end of the series. So as usual, if you liked this video, then please click the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, then please click subscribe. It really helps the channel when you do those things. And finally, if you have any comments, or for this particular case, if you have any additional resources that you would recommend that others check out to improve their clean code and to learn more about programming principles, then please leave a comment below. All right, thanks very much, and see you next time.